have an example of my finished project. This says my last name, so you'll see some letters of my last name kind of hidden in here. We have the Schauer, and it kind of created this really cool design. Here's one I did not color in yet, but here's where we're going. Before we get there, what we need to do is practice, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of paper, you're going to fold it 2 times, and we're going to practice. That's right, 4 different times. Here is my first name. I kind of played with it in this section. I'm going to turn it over and show you kind of how I work with this. So I will work with my last name, and you can hold it this way or this way. It does not matter. I like to put my first letter of my name I'm working with in the center. Okay, it doesn't have to be this way, but it just kind of helps me break up the page a little bit. So that is the letter S. I'm going to make sure it touches the top and touches the bottom. The reason why I do it this way is to make sure. So if I had 2 colors, I'd color this side in one color and this side in the other color. I shouldn't see letters like this. That means they're floating. If I were to color on each side of the letter, you wouldn't know where to start and stop. So what you really need to do is make sure your letters are touching the top and the bottom, or touching at least the letter. So I'll show you where my next letter goes. And what I like to do is I like to turn my paper. I'm going to sneak my letter C in here. Okay. I'm going to turn my paper this way. I'll put my H this way. My letter A, maybe I'll turn it this way. And I'm just trying to find empty spots to fill the space that my letters can go. Let's see, this looks empty over here. Maybe I'll put my letter U. Okay, maybe I'll turn it this way for my letter E. One more letter to sneak in. Again, look at how I'm stopping and starting at each. So if I were to color these in, you would know exactly where to start and stop. Maybe let's put it here. This looks a little bit empty, but maybe I'll put it on an angle just a bit. Okay, and again, we're reaching that letter out so we can connect. If you find something like this, you always can connect it. Okay, that way I would know this would be a color, this would be a color, and this would be a color. So we've really just created different shapes using our letters. So we have spots to add our patterns and colors in. So keep going. Your design's going to look different every time. Okay, so here was the example I just worked on. Here's one I worked on before. And just notice the difference. They all are not going to look the same, but we are practicing to make sure that the letters are tall, touching the sides of the paper. And we will have 4 designs by the time we're done. After we've practiced 4 times, you are going to find your favorite design and transfer it on to your final sheet of paper. We are starting in pencil, and it's okay if your design changes just a little bit, but here's the inspiration that I decided I'd like to go with. So again, I started with my first letter in the middle. Again, touching the very top and stretching it all the way down. I did find it helpful to use capital letters in my design. Don't worry if your lines aren't straight, just do your best. So again, this is my letter K, stretching it all the way up, stretching it all the way down. Okay, and already my design is starting to look different. And like I said before, that is okay. I put my R on this side, so I'm going to turn it this way. And stretch my R. If you notice, these are all capital letters. For some reason, I just find it just a bit easier to do capital letters. Yeah, I'm just working on my design, making sure my letters stretch and touch tops to bottoms. I can't find out where my T is. Oh, I gotta turn my paper to do it. So this is gonna look a bit different, like I said before, than the one I practiced with. That's okay. I'm still liking my design. Oops. There's something under there. I made my line squiggle. Okay. Well, I made my letter E. I'm missing a letter. I'm gonna put it over here. There's my name. There we go. Once you've traced your pencil lines with the Sharpie, I wanted to show you 2 things. So if you notice there's some mistakes, And that's okay because you want a variety of thick and thin lines. You want both thick and thin lines in your designs. Okay. It adds interest, it creates variety, and it helps the viewer kind of move around your picture. So if you get lines that aren't quite right, what you can do is go back over it to make your line thicker. So I'm just going to make this one line thicker. And I can go over it several times and make it really thick. Okay, and then maybe I'll turn my paper this way and make another line really thick. So I'm just going next to, see if my line messes up, right? What I can do is hold my marker and bring it straight down. Okay, and this over here doesn't quite match if you see that. And what I'm going to do is make that line thick. So I'm going to start all the way at the center right here. So where it's nice and thick, I'm going to start my Sharpie line and I'm going to bring it over to the end. Okay, so this side will be thick. And we should have a thick line somewhere over here. Maybe I'll make this one thick. Okay, so you want the variety of thick and thin lines. Once you're done with the Sharpie, find any pencil lines you still see and erase them. Okay. It is time to Mondrian our artwork. So what we have are thick and thin lines. We've erased our pencil lines, and now we need to add patterns in these empty spots. Let's just peep our finished one real quick. Okay, we will add some color in these lines. You may make little like tic-tac-toe boards or grids, or you can make your lines long. Remember, variety is the key. So how I start out is I pick a big old section that's empty, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some lines. Okay, some vertical, horizontal lines. Maybe I'll block off some of these to add interest. Maybe a brick pattern that might look a little cooler. Okay, and then maybe I'll make a few lines that come straight down like this. There's really no right or wrong way to do it. You are filling in the space simply using vertical lines and horizontal lines, just like Mondrian did. If you wanted to start off with the line, see this line is going horizontal, maybe you can repeat that line with just your thinner marker. Okay, and then I'm going to turn my paper and work on another area. I'm going to keep going this way until I have a nice solid design looking something like this, where when I turn my paper, it kind of all looks complete. All right. Once I like the idea, once I feel like enough spaces are filled up, we will move on to the last step.